The rain poured relentlessly as Detective Arthur Hale's car snaked its way through the remote countryside of northern England. The castle loomed in the distance. Greymore Castle, its towering spires piercing the mist like jagged fangs. Built in the late 1400s, the castle had been abandoned for nearly a century, until a team of historical researchers recently moved in. Within weeks, 3 members of that team had vanished without a trace. Arthur wasn't a believer in the supernatural. 20 years in Scotland Yard had hardened him. But what drew him here wasn't legend, it was evidence. Each disappearance had occurred in different wings of the castle, with no signs of forced entry. No bodies, no footprints, nothing. It was the kind of puzzle that haunted an investigator's pride. He arrived at the gates, greeted by Dr. Eleanor Finch, the lead historian and the one who made the emergency call. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion, her hands fidgeting nervously. "Detective Hale," she began, voice trembling. "I'm glad you came. This place, something is wrong here." Arthur offered a firm handshake. "Let's keep emotions aside. Start from the beginning. Who disappeared first?" As they walked the torch-lit corridors, Eleanor explained. "Professor Lambert vanished 3 weeks ago while cataloguing the East Wing. 2 days later, our technician Marcus disappeared in the library. And last night it was Hannah. She was working near the chapel ruins. One moment she was there, the next, gone." Arthur noticed something unsettling. The castle's walls seemed to muffle sound unnaturally, as if swallowing their voices. There was a faint, almost rhythmic humming, like the pulse of a giant organism hidden beneath the stone. The investigation begins. Arthur set up a temporary base in the castle's war room, a circular chamber lined with dusty maps, relics, and faded banners. His torchlight swept across centuries, old murals depicting strange rituals, hooded figures, and a great fire that consumed part of the castle centuries ago. He began with Lambert's quarters. The professor's notes were scattered, his handwriting increasingly frantic in the final pages. "The foundations are older than the castle itself. There's something buried here, something they tried to hide. I've heard the chanting at night. I'm not alone in the East Wing." Marcus's workstation was next. The technician had set up audio sensors throughout the castle. Arthur reviewed the recordings on Marcus's laptop. Most were empty, until one file. At 3:14 a.m., a chilling whisper echoed through the corridor microphones. "Return what was taken." It wasn't just a voice. It was layered as if several voices spoke in perfect unison. The hidden passage, Arthur examined the East Wing meticulously. A wall behind a faded tapestry caught his eye. The stone there seemed recently disturbed. With some effort, he pried open a concealed latch, revealing a narrow spiral staircase descending into darkness. Eleanor followed reluctantly, lantern in hand. The passage smelled of earth and something older, rot, maybe, or forgotten tombs. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, until their breath misted in front of them. At the bottom, they entered a chamber unlike any other, massive stone pillars, strange runic carvings, and a circular pit in the center, like a ritual well. Arthur knelt near the carvings. These symbols, not medieval Latin, older. Eleanor whispered, "Some believe Greymore was built on top of a pagan temple. These markings, they match pre-Christian ritual sites." A faint sound rose from the pit, like whispering in water. Eleanor stepped back. "Did you hear that?" Arthur aimed his flashlight into the darkness. Something moved. The disappearances revisited, back in the war room. Arthur pieced together timelines. Each disappearance occurred after sunset, in different wings, but always within 15 minutes of the castle's silent hour, an unexplained power outage, and dead zone in all sensors between 300 and 3:15 a.m. He proposed a trap. That night, he and Eleanor would patrol separately during the silent hour, maintaining radio contact. Arthur took the east wing. Eleanor stayed near the chapel ruins. At 3:03 a.m., the castle plunged into silence. The humming intensified. Arthur's flashlight flickered. The air thickened, as if gravity itself had shifted. A figure appeared at the end of the corridor, Lambert. His clothes were tattered, skin pale, eyes wide and empty. "Lambert," Arthur called cautiously. The figure tilted its head unnaturally, then whispered in multiple voices, "Return what was taken or be taken." Arthur stepped forward, but Lambert's figure dissolved like smoke, leaving only the whisper echoing through the stone. Eleanor's terrified voice crackled on the radio. "Arthur!" The ground near the chapel. "There's someone here. It's Hannah." "No, wait." Static. Arthur sprinted through the halls, every corridor twisting like a labyrinth. He found Eleanor unconscious near the chapel ruins. She woke gasping. "They tried to pull me into the ground, hands from the earth." The artifact. In Eleanor's recovered memory, she mentioned seeing Hannah holding a small, black stone relic days before her disappearance. Something she found while excavating near the chapel. Arthur searched the archaeological storage and found it. A smooth, obsidian-like stone, carved with the same runes from the pit chamber. The moment he touched it, the air chilled, and whispers filled his ears. Visions flooded his mind. Robed figures lowering the stone into the well centuries ago, chanting in an ancient tongue. The castle being built atop their burial site. A curse uttered, "Let this stone bind our will to this place. Whoever disturbs it shall join us forever." He realized the researchers had unearthed the anchor of the curse. The disappearances weren't random. They were offerings demanded by whatever dwelled beneath. The final descent, Arthur decided to return the relic to the pit chamber. He and Eleanor descended again into the darkness. The humming was now a deafening chorus, the walls vibrating. The air smelled of iron and decay. At the pit, the whispers became words, "Return or remain." Arthur held the stone over the pit. But before he could drop it, figures emerged from the shadows. Lambert, Marcus, Hannah. Their bodies were twisted, movements jerky, like puppets on unseen strings. Their eyes glowed faintly, their mouths moving in unison. "You will not leave," they intoned. The chamber walls began to close inward. Arthur tossed the relic into the pit. Instantly, a howling wind burst forth, knocking everyone back. The figures screamed, dissolving into ash. The carvings glowed brightly, then cracked. The humming ceased. The castle groaned like a dying beast. Aftermath at dawn, the castle was silent for the first time in centuries. Eleanor wept with relief. Arthur filed his report with clinical precision, omitting the supernatural details. Officially, the disappearances were unexplained structural accidents. Unofficially, he carried the memory of the whispering voices. As he left Greymore Castle for the last time, the mist lifted, revealing the ancient stones in a rare shaft of sunlight. But just as he crossed the gate, he heard it again, soft, almost playful, "Return or remain." He turned sharply. No one was there.